Welcome back to Angelo's Workbench, the home of automotive dreams in scale, and let's kick this series off. Hey everybody, it's Angelo with Angelo's Workbench, here with my next project, the Joey Logano 2022 Championship winner NASCAR Ford Mustang from Salvino JR Models. This is for the Facebook 2023 NASCAR group build. My first time ever participating in a group build. So this video series is going to be available on YouTube, but it will also be linked in that Facebook group as well as various places that I put it. Instagram, TikTok, I go everywhere now. And there are so many unboxing videos of this, so I'm going to be extremely brief. And just focus on getting right to work. So I'm going to show you the body, and we'll go through and we'll just talk about it real quickly. Molded in yellow, obviously. I think the idea was that a lot of these parts are molded. It's molded in 4 different colors. We have black, white, silver, and yellow. I think the goal was to, if you had somebody who didn't want to paint anything, they could put this together and without paint and still have a relatively reasonable looking result, which is, cheers to them. It just opens it up to even more people. And then there is the chassis and the black parts, and we have the wheels. I see the wheels have the spokes and the hubs separate. That's cool. Lots of little parts. And then we get into the white stuff. We've got the frame, the transmission tunnel, all kinds of goodies here. Oh, we got something loose. I don't know where that came from. Oh, it came from there. It came from the previous sprue. So there's another sprue. I was looking at the brakes. Look really cool too. Like they're serious. Like that's gonna take a wash real nice and look really well. Look really good. I mean, and here's motor parts and something missing off the sprue here. Intake manifold. So that's all looking good. And then we go to the decals. 2 decal sheets. This one has, a lot of the car stuff, including the bottom. I was interested to see that the bottom is all decal instead of having to paint it black. Same thing with around the taillights. Like this is all decal. That's going to be pretty cool. And then we have our sponsor decals and whatnot here in the bottom of the box. NASCAR numbers. I see the window trims here for the back. It's pretty cool. So there's going to be lots of decaling on this build, which is fine. I don't mind decals. And then the clear parts, we have these guys here, and then one thing decided to come off. Looks like a rear spoiler. But that all looks like really nice. Like they did a really nice job on this kit. The parts look fantastic. The assembly is a little, I'll say, unusual, and I don't know if it's just me, because I don't do a lot of NASCAR kits, but they have you. So here's the tires too. The tires actually smell like tires. They're really cool rubber. And then here's the instructions. The instructions are a little unconventional in that there's no stuff. Like, there's no, like, here's a picture of the car, and here's about the championship, and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of the model manufacturers do that. These guys, they just get right down to business. Like, hey, you bought a model kit to build it. We're not going to talk about the car. We're going to talk about the model kit and how to build it. So, get to work. And that's basically what it is. And they have you assemble the chassis first using the base plate as a jig. And I don't think you attach everything together until step 11, where you glue it to the under tray. You don't glue it to the under tray until 11, after the motor is in, after the headers are in, which is rather interesting. And Clay Kemp did a nice video. I think he used the next gen Camaro, but I think the chassis is the same. He did a nice video on what to do and how to handle the chassis assembly on this. And I'm going to watch his video. Well, actually, I already watched it, but I'm going to follow his instructions to the letter. And then these instructions end at step 26, which is interesting, because then there's a page in here. He must have made a mistake on the instructions. And then here's 27, 28, and 29, and the decal call-outs. Look at all those decals. So I do have a message into them to find out if... and I'll post the answer up here. But I noticed that I was missing two parts on the sprues. On the silver G sprue, I am missing number 16 and I am missing number 19, and that looks like a short shot maybe. But I've gone through the instructions 3 times and I find no reference to a part G16 or a part G19. So I think it's most likely that those parts aren't supposed to be here anyway. But I have reached out to Salvino JR to ask them, and hopefully I will get an answer soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to proceed on getting to work. So we're going to get to work. I'm going to start removing parts from the sprues, and I'll bring you back when I'm all set with that. So let's get started with the body. You can see here that I have sprayed it in primer. A couple of coats of primer was all it took to cover the yellow, and I'm sure that the yellow eventually will bleed through somewhat, but I am painting the car yellow, so I wasn't too worried about it. Sometimes if you've got a colored plastic like that and you wanted to go with a different color, say I wanted to go with green or orange or red or something like that, I would probably have primered the car and then sprayed the car silver. The silver generally will kill the bleed through of the colored plastic. So since we're going yellow, I just did a couple of coats of primer, and now we're going to spray yellow. I'm using the same yellow I used on my Camaro a few video series back. It's an inexpensive water-based acrylic paint that I found either in Walmart or Hobby Lobby, I don't recall. It looks the part, it's close enough for me, and comes out looking really nice. It's a very good yellow. So let's keep painting. I have painted all of the parts in their primary colors, and now it is time for detailing and assembly. I've detailed some of the parts for the first few steps here, and I have them ready. Interesting note here in the instructions that say that the prop shaft is a little short. I have to add an 1/8 inch long piece of sprue to this apparently. I have not done that yet. I'm going to see just how short an 1/8 of an inch is and then decide where I want to put that 1/8 of an inch in. But we'll get that squared away. I also have painted, primed, painted, and clear coated the body. and the yellow I used was just a regular old yellow. I'm not much for, oh my god, I gotta have the right color. If it's bright yellow, it's good enough. And this is the paint I use, the same paint I used on my Camaro recently. And that stuff works great. It's inexpensive. It shoots great. I like it, and it's a good enough yellow for me, and it's good enough for this NASCAR. So this is the body, all clear coated. So the clear is curing. I'm gonna let that cure for a good few days. I find with the 2K that if I try to apply decals too soon after, that the decals won't slide on the clear. They just stick where you put them, and you have no way to slide them around, and that gets real inconvenient, because it's impossible to put them down in the first place. The first shot in the right spot. So I'm going to get going through the first few steps here. We're going to do that right now. And it does say that you use the under tray as a building jig. You don't glue to it yet. Hoping that the fact that this is slightly warped is not going to impact it in a substantial way. I'm hoping that I'll be able to just hold it down on a flat surface, use it as a jig, glue the parts, and then have them hold. You do glue to the chassis eventually, way up in like step 11, until you glue to the chassis after the motor's in and the headers are in and everything. So I'm gonna get started on this, and then I'm kind of excited to do the wheels. I don't know why I do that. Like, I'm building a model kit, and I get excited to do the wheels and tires. So I have the wheels painted gunmetal, as the instructions call out for, and they are nice wheels. And it looks like, and you don't glue them, you just put them in the tire, and the tires are directional. Like, there's a rib inside here, so like one side takes this, and then it just goes in and it locks into the rubber there, and then the other side takes this, and then that's like how you leave it, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm excited to put the Goodyear decals on them and get the wheels and tires set up. So I'll be doing that soon as well. I don't know why I do that. When I build a model kit, I'm always focused on the wheels and tires as one of the first things, even though they're later on in the instructions. So let's get to work with some assembly. So I'd like to take this opportunity to mention a few things. First of all, that the chassis is very fiddly. You're going to need to take your time. You're going to see, I'm showing you the whole build process. You're going to see that some of the parts give me a little bit of difficulty, more so than others. It all goes together, and it goes together well. It's just a little bit fiddly. This kit is definitely for builders who have a little bit of experience, I think, and are comfortable in working with test fitting, retest fitting, test fitting some more, making sure that it's going to go. I test fitted off camera quite a few of these parts, quite a few times. So I wanted to mention that, and you'll see as we go through this build that there's a lot of fiddly parts, and it goes together well eventually, and yields a very nice completed product. It's a wonderful kit. I highly recommend it. The other thing I want to mention is that Angelo's Workbench is now also on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. On Facebook, it's Angelo's Workbench. On TikTok, it's @Angelo's Workbench, all one word. On Instagram, it's Angelo's Workbench, all one word. You're going to see content there that you don't necessarily see here. So check me out on those other media platforms and follow along. Here I'm going to begin assembly the wheels and tires. I don't know why, I love putting the wheels and tires together early in a build. It gets me excited for completing the build. So the tires have a little bit, they have a bigger notch on one side inside the tire and a smaller notch on the other. One side for the barrel of the wheel and then one side for the spokes. Here I'm doing a little test fit with the brakes to see what they look like, and the brakes actually have a little hub that sticks through the wheel, so it looks awesome. I really like the way they had this go together. So I'm just gluing the barrels in and gluing the spokes in, and then I'm going to move on to the decals. The decals with the kit were very easy to work with. The ones for the tires as well as the ones for the body. I mean, they're very good decals. I had no trouble at all with them. I'm using some MarkFit, Tamiya MarkFit decal solution. It's kind of my go-to. It comes in a couple different varieties, the regular version and the strong version. I believe I'm using just the regular version here. You only need the strong when you're going around some complex curves or asking the decal to settle down over some detail. But you'll see here, I have no trouble applying these decals. They're great, and the yellow letters just look fantastic. You know, it's typical NASCAR, and it gives it a really nice look with the brakes and the hub. The wheels and tires on the kit are fantastic. So now we're going to get into a little bit more chassis assembly. The chassis portion that I did earlier in the video had cured. And it's worthy of note, and I know I've said it several times, that you don't glue the chassis, the frame, to the bottom plate of the chassis until step 11, and you've got quite a bit of it done by then. But in the meantime, you're using it as a jig. And I think the reason why I had so much trouble getting it to fit so as good as I think it should is because my chassis was a little warped. I didn't realize it until after I had begun some of the building. It became apparent to me that the front end had actually was actually a little bit bent. And so that kind of affected, as I worked my way forward with the car, they have you work back to front. As I worked my way forward, I began to have some issues and eventually had to use some heat and some bending to get the body to fit, because the body wasn't fitting properly, because the chassis had a little bit of a rise at the front, and so the body wouldn't settle down. But I did get it eventually, as you'll see in the upcoming next video. But you'll see here I'm getting ready to put the firewall in, and I do have a little bit of trouble with the firewall because I'm starting to get toward the front of the car where there is just a little bit of warpage going on, and that was a problem. So make sure that your chassis is not warped before you start the build, and it'll make your life a lot easier, I'm sure.
That's going to wrap up video number 1 in the Salvino JR Models 2022 Joey Logano Ford Mustang for the Facebook 2023 NASCAR group build, which I'm excited to be a part of. Thank you for having me, and thank you for watching this video. Go ahead and click that like and subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. Leave me some comments, send me some questions. I'd love to hear from you guys. Also, check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all under Angelo's Workbench. I'll see you next week.